All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are back. It is middle of the afternoon. We don't usually do this type of thing in the middle of the afternoon, but we're here. We haven't been here in a while. We had a pretty good run going. We're keeping it consistent once a week for you guys, but things happen. We had to race Day in the Dirt. Got sick after Day in the Dirt, which I think everybody did. Did you get sick after Day in the Dirt?
No, for me it was a day to get hurt.
A day to get
yeah.
hurt.
Yeah. I think it's that for a lot of people, though.
That's how my Day in the Dirt experience
The worst part is I was, staging to go to the Moto Go-Go team race.
Yep.
And we're in the tunnel, and I look at my team race partner, my nephew, and I go, hey, you know what's sick? I haven't even tipped over all week. And he goes, don't you say that. Don't you say that. You knock on that wood. And I couldn't reach the wood.
Oh, shit.
Dude, for some reason, when I do the team races, I always end up doing the last lap. Right?
Yeah.
And this time.
Which is the worst one, obviously.
But this time I got the white flag, and I'm like, sick. I don't have to do the last lap. And, you still have to go up Yamaha Hill and down. And I go up Yamaha Hill, and I pass Fonzie from Bass House, and I'm all, woo. And coming down, I'm all relaxed. Like, yeah, it's over. I made it.
Oh, no.
Ka-ka-ka. Hit a bump. My hand comes off.
Oh,
I just remember going over the bars, going down the hill. And then I remember being real dizzy and getting up and going to my bike. A flag guy had it. And I'm like, give me my bike. And he's like, no, you got to. I'm fine. And I jumped on the bike, and I remember getting on the track and going, I don't know where the track goes.
Oh.
And then that's
Did you get knocked out at all? Like for a sec or no?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Just dizzy.
But the next thing I don't remember going through the tunnel. Like Casey says, I came ripping out the tunnel and did the wristband.
Yeah.
But the next thing I remember, I'm out of my gear at the van going, I hit my head.
Damn. That's not good.
Did you have trouble finding the van?
No, apparently. Well, I guess from what I'm told, the guy that was helping us do the wristband, he rode me back.
I was going to say, because I watched him get knocked out at a pit bike race, and it was like 30 minutes, and we're like, where'd he go? And we go over to Talon Hawkins' pit, and he's like, dude, I couldn't remember how to get back to the pit.
I remember super vividly, and not like super spotty, remember riding back to my pit and not having any idea where I was parked or even driving there. I couldn't remember anything. And I remember just seeing Talon Hawkins, and he's like, yo, dude, you probably shouldn't be riding around. Like, you were just sleeping. Yeah, he saw it. And he's like, here, just like chill out for a minute. And then finally everybody found me, and they're like, where the fuck did you end up?
Dude, head injuries are gnarly, right? Like
concussions. It's freaky. It's super confusing because after you hit your head really hard, it's like there's almost been times where this weekend at Day in the Dirt, actually, or this past weekend, I remember riding back after one of my practices, and I didn't crash. Everything totally went good. But I've had that feeling multiple times riding back and not having any idea where I'm going because of fucking head injuries.
Yeah.
And this time I literally rode back, and I almost started tripping myself out a little bit, and I'm like, I didn't crash this moto, right? Like nothing happened. Like,
see, that's scary.
I know, it was weird. That was the first time it's ever happened to me where I didn't crash. Everything was fine. And I literally almost started tripping myself out because I was like, damn, I didn't crash, right? Like I know where I'm going. Everything's good. Like, riding dirt bikes is a weird thing, man.
Yeah.
Do you guys, has this happened to you where you hit your head and you get deja vu?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude,
I've had that.
Every time I hit my head, it's like, I've lived this already.
Yeah.
I hate that.
That is a trip.
Yeah.
It's a scary feeling because you're like, did I do this in another life? Like,
right?
What is going on?
I already knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, it's scary because this year, it was the last time I rode a track. It was like in April. It was my first official dirt nap. I was knocked out for like 2 minutes. He comes rolling up. I'm like seizing on the track. My whole career, I never got knocked out. And
which is pretty gnarly.
I was out for about 2 minutes, but literally, like, I went to the ambulance. Then, his girlfriend drove me home. I've never lost an entire day. Like, the next day, I had no recollection of what happened the day before.
Yeah, have you got it back yet?
No. No.
That's
so even
I've never lost an entire day of
So
my
you
life.
still
I don't
don't
even remember
remember-
going to the track before I hit my head. Like, weird.
still now you don't?
No.
Damn.
No.
You don't remember loading up?
No, nothing. And that was
That's
Brono.
crazy.
First time going to Brono. I'm like, oh, this should be fun. No, I don't. when people ask me, have you been to Brona? I say no.
Never been there.
Mentally, I've
one
never been there.
That one really doesn't count. You were
No.
fucking snoring.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
it's not cool.
Your whole riding career, like all through
Yeah,
childhood, amateurs.
I've
pro
had
racing?
concussions, but never out cold.
Wow.
And it's crazy because like 2019, I had a huge crash. I nose wheelied at Colorado. You launched down that hill where Tomac did his shoulders. I rode the front wheel for like 100 feet and then went over the bars and head first, broke my collarbone, broke my back. Don't know how I did not get knocked out. Like my neck broke my fall. Like literally do not know how I didn't get knocked out. But I feel like, I kind of stepped away from racing, and then I feel like when you're in it and training, like your mind is very strong and you're
Everything's
training your
strong.
mind. But like, after I stopped racing, I'm, going out on weekends, drinking beer, not eating as healthy, not working out as much. I feel like your brain is more vulnerable than normal because I'm like, dude, I've hit my head harder and didn't even get knocked out. Like I took a 2-minute nap.
Dude, here's a gnarly one for you. Milestone when it was new.
Oh, it was so good.
I raced there, and it was when the track was in this weird configuration where you had to get to the starting line going through a tunnel, like this. Big
Oh, the
metal
storage
tunnel.
container.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first turn was a right, but the first turn was marked by a tractor tire, right? And I think it was like, I think it was like 09 or something.
Mm-hmm.
I go ripping in the first turn, and I push the front end. Face
Into the
first in the
tire?
tractor tire.
Oh shit.
So got knocked out, ambulance to Arrowhead or whatever. But I lost like a month of my life after that.
Wow.
And the funny thing is I was functioning, and that month we put out a cover story with Jason Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the cover story photo was a shot of him scrubbing from behind, and the whole premise was bad boy gone good, and we dressed him up in a fucking toga with angel wings and stuff.
I remember
No
that.
way.
I remember that shoot.
I don't remember shooting that. I don't remember writing it. Nothing. I could look at this magazine and it's like, who did this?
No way.
Yeah,
It's like
I
a
just-
month of dementia.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it was just one night. I remember I was eating dinner at the dinner table, and I was like,
just snap back.
shit.
yeah,
That's
And
crazy.
the funny thing is, my kids said that I was a dick for that month too. They said you're super grumpy and like your temper was like that.
It is weird because I've actually heard even with like football players and stuff, like head injuries are a huge cause of like anger.
Yeah.
Like you lash out a lot.
A
and
lot
you're,
of
like, you're
emotions
very-
in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean,
I mean,
those,
it makes sense.
what people like commit suicide later because of that. That's like a documented thing.
Real ass thing, yeah. So we're already a few minutes into this, and we actually said that this would be really easy with having another host as a guest, that it would be really easy to just get in conversation. So we have Donn from Swap Moto with us today. Thank you, Donn, for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We're fans of what you do. We watch the Swap Moto live stuff as, I think it's one of the main outlets to go to, when you want news and stuff like that. So there's a lot to get into with you. Where, just to kind of start it out, like where did you grow up? How did you get into dirt bikes? Like how did this whole thing sort of start for you?
Well, Dylan knows my brother Ross.
Oh, one of the best humans I've ever met.
So yeah, I'm the third of 3 sons. I was an accident, right? So
Surprise.
my mom was 40 when she had me, I think. So
Hey, still a winner though.
I'm 14 years younger than Ross, my brother.
Gotcha.
Ross is the Enzo Racing KYB suspension technician.
Yeah,
We have another
legend.
brother, John, who's older. Yeah, grew up in Altadena. Was little brother to Ross and John. Grew up at the racetrack. I think my mom said I was just a few weeks old and I was in a crib at Saddleback, But I didn't get to ride dirt bikes though because my mom was like, "Oh, little Donnie, he's not going to get hurt on these motorcycles." Because
Yeah.
my oldest brother John, and it's funny, I got to ask him. In my mind, I think he blew out his knee, but they didn't have great knee surgery back then. But this giant portion of my childhood, he was in a cast from his thigh to his toes, right? And I remember he kept getting new casts, like every time he saw the doctor. But I just know that like kind of ended his whole racing career. and my mom was just destroyed by that, you know. So I wasn't allowed to ride dirt bikes, and all three of us had exercise-induced asthma growing up. And Ross and John outgrew it because they were active riding dirt bikes and stuff, but I was babied, right? So all I did was get fatter and fatter because I was allowed to suck on the asthma inhaler. But yeah, so I didn't get to ride anything until I was 16, I think. And it was my oldest brother was like, "Hey, Dad, Donn is a dork. He doesn't have any friends. He doesn't do anything, and every kid needs his thing. Let's get him a three-wheeler." You know,
Of all things, let's put him on the sketch.
because at that time,
At least
actually,
you didn't say a quad.
my brother they weren't around yet.
Oh, okay.
But my brother had an ATC 110, and he used to go far around on it.
Yeah.
And so my dad bought me a Suzuki similar three-wheeler.
Yep.
So my oldest brother and I used to go riding all the time together, and it's funny because that changed my personality completely. I had my own thing, and my friends thought I was cool because I rode this three-wheeler thing.
Yep.
But you know, and it just led into a dirt bike eventually, and I started riding with my brother Ross, and here I am.
It's crazy how that works, huh? Like, you can be, you know, essentially being like a dorky little kid is most of the time due to not having any confidence, right?
Yeah.
Not having any confidence because you probably don't do anything that you feel like you're good at or, you know, that you think is cool. And then you hop on this little, you know, three-wheeler, sketchiest thing ever, and you figure out how to ride it and you get some confidence, and now you're, you know, you grow up to be this guy.
I think I've written about it before, as I referred to it as the esteem building three-wheeler.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. That's sick.
Yeah.
So how did, you know, little Donn on the three-wheeler grow up and be this big media outlet and business guy?
Well, the 50 Cent rundown is, so I started racing three-wheelers, right? Like the 250s and everything. And that was right around the time quads came out. And they combined quads and three-wheelers together, and it was dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Dude, the quad guys would go, and they would put their front tire in front of your back tire and hit their brakes.
No
and
way.
you just go, boing, and you go flipping off.
I can't believe they would
dirty
run them
racing.
together. That's just,
Yeah, they would race us together. But anyway, so it was over it, and my dad was kind of super over it. And Ross was like, finally, because he was embarrassed of me the whole time I was riding three-wheelers. So finally he's like, yeah, you know, I have this old RM125, come ride it. And so I would go riding with him and his buddies. And this was in the time in the 80s when there was like no legal tracks to ride at. It was like you had to either race or go ride at Mockingbird you know, in the hills.
That's funny.
So I spent so many afternoons with Ross and his buddies riding in the hills on his RM125. And then out of high school, I got a job at a Honda dealer and bought a CR250. And then when it came time to really go to college, my dad was like, Dad, no more motorcycles. I'm not going to pay for it. You got to do it yourself. So I bought a CR250 in 87. And I figured out that if I wrote articles for Cycle News at like the CMC races, Stu Peters would let me race for free.
That's cool.
So I'm all, this is sick. I could write these stories and
Race for free.
get paid $2 per inch in the magazine and race for free. So
That's a good deal.
I had no aspirations of being a journalist. I was just doing that, so I got to race for free. And then I figured out that if I set up this stupid little booth at the races where I was like, give me $20 and I'll take 3 pictures of you and send them to you. And so I used to do that and make money selling photos and writing for Cycle News. I mean, it's not a lot of money from Cycle News, but and I was in college in business administration program, and I couldn't pass accounting, and I kept dropping out. And anyway, I was on academic probation in my sophomore year at Cal State Long Beach, and I had to go back to Pasadena City College to get my GPA up to get back in. And Nate Rauba, who is an assistant editor at Cycle News, calls me and goes, hey, there's a assistant editor position open, and you're like our best contributor, so would you want to come work for us?
No shit.
And I was like, I don't know. he goes, "This is opportunities like this don't come along very often." And so I went and talked to my mom and dad, and I was like, "Hey, there's this job opening. You know, writing's not really what I do. It's always come easy to me though. But can I try this?" And my dad's off. "If it doesn't work, you got to go back to college." I'm all right.
I'm going to make it work.
Went to Cycle News, and I started out as the locals editor. And locals is like, you know, the little stories in the back, which I was writing at the time, right?
Yeah.
So I had to like correct all the spelling and everything and typeset stuff. And so actually one of my guys that I worked with the most was Tony Alessi.
No
That's
shit.
funny.
Because he was the announcer at GFI at Paris.
Yeah.
And so he used to write these stories. And
He used to announce and race, right?
Yeah.
No shit.
So he would send me. Tony was sick, dude. He would take pictures, and he had a dark room in his bathroom, and he would develop film. And he
That's
would
cool.
send a little strip of a negative with a grease pen on the photo that he wanted, and he typed
Damn.
this story.
That's pretty cool.
And so anyway, so I was the locals editor at Cycle News, and man, I was there for 7 years, and never thought about going back to school. Eventually got promoted up from locals editor to my first gig was Grand National Flat Track, you know, the 750cc Harley.
That's cool.
Going around. So it's kind of funny because I'm this Japanese guy with long hair at the Harley Davidson races. Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh God, not fitting in too good. But
That's funny.
actually, it was there I met this guy, Danny Malfatti, who was crew chief and sponsor for Ricky Graham, who was one of the greatest flat track racers of all time. But he came back and played a big role in my career more recently. But that's where I met him, was at the flat track race.
That's cool. It's crazy, like the events of everything, like just how it all ties together
Yeah.
and comes full circle.
Right.
So yeah, cycling 7 years. Then I got a job offer from Dirt Rider magazine to come be the Moto editor there, which is like Dirt Rider covers off-road and everything.
Yeah.
So the Moto was a separate section. And so I did that. Actually, I got hired to be the test editor. And then I progressed to Moto editor. And then at Peterson Publishing, we used to do these annual, biannual, like special issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did this one called Motocross or something. And so I was put in charge of it. So I was stoked because it was all moto, wasn't off-road and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we did this motocross magazine, and then I was actually going to quit because I didn't get along really well with my boss. And so when I went to my big boss and told him I was quitting, he's like, "You can't quit. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I want to do a motocross magazine." So we launched a magazine called MX Racer.
No
It was
shit. I
a
remember that.
sister publication to Dirt Rider. And I did that it was bi-monthly.
Yep.
So, dude, that was the life, dude, because it was just me and an art director. And so we do bike tests and race coverage and interviews and stuff. So I wrote everything. I took all the photos, but I had 2 months to do it.
Yeah, I was
right?
going to say you had
And there was
plenty
no
of time.
such thing as the internet back then. So
Yeah.
all I had to do was these stories. So I would work really, really hard for like 2.5 weeks, and then I just screw off the rest of the time. But MX Racer, I was there for I think 1.5 years, and that's when Transworld called. Transworld Media, Brad McDonald, who owns Vital MX now, he called me and said, "Hey, we want to start a motocross magazine. Can you come talk to me?" And I was like, "All right." And I didn't know what Transworld was at the time because I'm not a skater or surfer.
Oh, is that what it started as?
Yeah, Transworld skate.
Yeah, Transworld is.
Because I actually
Yeah.
didn't really know that either. I was young when it started.
Yeah,
Moto.
Transworld skate was like the shit,
It
right?
still is, essentially. Like,
That's cool.
Is it a
Transworld's-
magazine still, or is it just a website?
I think it's still a magazine, but
It's probably like quarterly or something by now.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
so it was just the Moto that got pulled from that. It wasn't like the whole thing.
Well,
Like there's just no more Moto for Transworld.
so I went and I started Transworld Motocross,
Yep.
and was there for 19 years. And in 19 years, we were bought, I think, 5 times. Like,
Wow.
That's just kind of the nature of corporate media.
Yeah.
And the most recent sale was to American Media, which is David Pecker. And
What a name.
What
yeah.
a name.
he turned out to be a Pecker. But,
School was rough, so I get it.
But yeah, we got sold, but we were for sale for like 2 years
Right.
for the last sale. And I remember getting the news that we got bought. I was at Dan Bilzerian's house
No way.
with Dean Wilson. Remember Dino?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Dino did the video where he jumped over the swing pole and everything.
That
So
was one of the sickest videos.
Yeah.
How did you guys even get like the okay with that? I want to know
Dino
that.
was sponsored by Ignite.
Yeah.
And Ignite was owned by Bilzerian.
Yeah.
Right? So Dino just calls me and goes, hey, you want to come do some behind the scenes stuff? And I'm all, yeah.
That's
so
wild.
I took Dahmer, our ad guy. He and I went and we're in this mansion. We're just like,
Oh,
holy
dude,
shit.
it's like $40 million house.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember being there and I got the email that said like roundtable big managers meeting tomorrow. And my boss at that time was super cool. And I text him, do I really have to come to this? Because I'm supposed to do this other shit tomorrow. And he goes, yeah, you better come. And I remember going, it's serious.
If I need to be there, it's serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went to this meeting and and our president goes, yeah, you know, you've been sold. You've been purchased by American media. Things are going to be great. You know, we're going to, all the Transworld titles with surf, skate, snow,
Yep.
BMX, canoe, kayak, and some other weird titles. But they're going to form a super group around Men's Journal, which was their like flagship magazine.
Yep.
And he goes, unfortunately, there's no place for motorcycles. So you guys will have generous
Parting gift.
parting gifts. Yeah.
There you go.
And all
Later.
that. And we're just like, I was in disbelief, right? Because
Yeah.
Transworld Motocross was, A, it was the most profitable title in the company. B, it was the biggest motocross magazine in the world.
Right.
And C, I've been told by my boss the whole time, yeah, you're good. You know,
When you're there
Fuck, that
19
sucks.
years,
Yeah,
that is a
19 years.
lifetime.
19
That's
years.
crazy.
So I'm like walking out of there. And I just remember Michael Antonovich,
Yeah.
when they announced it, he's just all, oh, fuck. Because he had just cashed in his 401k to buy cameras.
Oh shit.
Oh,
And,
man.
But yeah, so it was just crazy. We got the rugs pulled out from under us for sure.
Yep.
So I was like, I was sitting there just going, dude, I'm 50 years old and I have nothing to show for my life except this stack of stupid magazines in the corner.
Right.
And I had no idea what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And dude, just sunk into like this deep, dark depression, you know? And really, really did not know what I wanted to do. And the San Diego Supercross was that following weekend. The one that rained really bad. And
Oh yeah, the lime gate.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But I went to that anyway, and I'm like, I'm going to go and just kind of work as I normally would. And Jeremy McGrath invited me to come watch the race in his suite.
Oh, the suites there are badass.
So I went up to the suite, and Jeremy's a little tuned up, and he's all like, yeah, you better not like do something else. You know, we need you. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. And he's all, buy it back. And I'm all, dude, I don't have that kind of money. He goes, get a loan, buy it back. Business isn't scary. It's only scary because you haven't done it.
That's
And he goes, dude, do you want me to buy it
pretty
back?
good words of wisdom.
He goes, you want me to buy it back? I'll buy it back.
Yeah.
And then I remember later that night I went down and I was in the Yamaha rig, and Villapoto comes up to me and goes, hey, so we bought a magazine or what? And
No
so
shit.
I had RV and MC like both saying, let's do this. So I was like, wow.
Like, you have no choice. You have to keep this going.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, okay. So I'm actually in the grocery store the next day walking around like a zombie. And Danny Malfatti, the guy I told you about, I met at the flat track races. He
Yep.
calls me. He's all, Donnie, what's going on? I saw on your Instagram. What happened? And I told him. He goes, I can't believe that. He goes, what's the next step? I go, well, I'm talking to these guys. And we're talking about buying it back. And how much do you think it would cost? And I'm like, at least $1 million. And he goes, I could have that in your bank account tomorrow. I'm like, what? So anyway, Danny and his wife were partners in a furniture store, Z Gallery. You know what that is, right?
I'm not sure.
They have it in the crossings below our houses.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
this really high-end furniture store. But they sold and they retired. And I go, oh, you have fuck you money, huh?
That is the
He's
perfect
got
name for
yeah,
it.
yeah, an extra $1 million to spare.
Yeah. But anyway, so he was super supportive. So Don Wilson, who was my publisher, was in talks with American media, and it was looking good, right? We were talking about what assets we would want and what we'd expect and how much we would pay and this and that. And then I don't know if you guys remember, but there was that scandal between David Pecker and Bezos from Amazon. Like there's like a blackmail scandal or something, because Bezos owned the Washington Post, and they're going to do a big expose on Donald Trump. And Bezos or Pecker was like blackmailing him with like dick pictures or something.
Oh my
No way.
But anyway, the talks just went woof, came to an abrupt halt when that scandal hit the news. And so then we were like, well, what are we going to do? And then next thing I know, I get this email saying, oh, because I had subscribed to Transworld also, so I could see how long it took to get the magazine and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, your subscription to Transworld Motocross is halted, and it's going to be replaced by Men's Journal. So right there, they
thanks.
transfer 100,000 Transworld Motocross subscribers to Men's Journal.
Yep.
So guess what? Transworld Motocross is worth dick
Right.
now, right?
Oh, I didn't think about
Oh,
that.
so up to that point, you were actually going to take back the Transworld
Yeah, you were gonna buy
Moto.
we're going to buy
Transworld
Transworld
Motocross.
Motocross,
Gotcha,
the magazine
okay.
back. We're going to continue with print and everything, right?
But like you said, it's not worth anything now.
Yeah, it's not worth anything with no subscribers.
Yep.
So that's when we're like, oh, fuck, what are we going to do? And Jeremy, again, is like, start something new. So we had already had the Swap Moto Live show at Transworld Motocross for about 6 months, 7 months maybe. So that's what we went with for the title of the media company, because it kind of had some credibility already, and people knew brand
They already knew the
recognition. In hindsight, I wish we didn't name it that. And it's funny because Jamie Ellis at Twisted said the same thing to me. He's all, hey, dude, why are you naming it Swap Moto Live? I'm all, well, we already have the show, and people know the name. And when I took the Swap Moto Live idea to my boss, I was like, this is mine. So like, if I quit, I take it. If I get fired, I take it. And so he said, okay. So I had a contract signed that Swap Moto Live belonged to me. But Jamie's all, that's a mistake. I'm all, why? And he goes, well, your nickname's Swap, so it's your name on the company. I
Exactly.
Go, yeah.
It's
And
fine.
he goes, well, I named my thing Twisted Development, not Jamie Ellis Racing, because I want my employees, my important people, to feel like they have ownership of it, right? And I was like, we're already this far into it, but they don't care, right? But now, realistically, I wish I didn't name it that, because Michael Antonovich is a huge, huge part of our deal. Chase Curtis,
Yep.
massive part of our program, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so I've tried to start calling it the SML show,
Yep.
because I don't want people to think it's all about me, because
Where did the name Swap come from?
You swapping?
when the internet first came out, my brother calls me and goes, Donnie, do you have internet? I go, yeah, I do. And he goes, dude, there's this website. It's called a website. I go, okay. And he goes, it's called motocross.com. You got to go on it. I'm all, okay, why? And he goes, there's this thing. It's called a chat room. I'm all, okay. And he goes, it's full of idiots. It's just full of knuckleheads, and they're talking about dirt bikes. And you could just go in there and make fun of them. and they don't
Just
know.
go bully
They
them.
don't know who they are. And I was like, okay. And so I'm on the phone with him.
Yeah, it's
I'm all,
anonymous, I think.
I'm on motocross. I was like, okay, username, Donn. He goes, no, not your name. I go, well, what's your name? He's all, Guppy. I'm all, Guppy, why? He goes, no, his name was Mop. His first name was Mop. I'm like, all right, so what should I do? And he goes, no, I don't swap. And so I typed in Swap. And it was funny because I created the screen name Swap, and I used to go in this chat room. And it was funny because Ross would call me and go, let's go in tonight. And we would go in.
It's like a game.
Yeah.
It was this chat room, and it's literally just colored lines of text going up, right?
When
And
it's
it says
live,
like,
right?
It says like swap, and then whatever I said,
Yeah.
and then you could like DM people privately by typing their name / or something, right?
Yep.
So Ross and I would waste hours every night talking in motocross.com privately and going, oh, look at this idiot. Look what he's saying. And this and that. Do you know that's where I met Steve Mathis?
No
Really?
way.
Yeah, he was Moto Steve in there.
No way.
And eventually...
What was he doing in there? Was he?
So did he start as a troll?
Yeah, was he
Yeah,
trolling
he
people?
was just being an idiot like we
That's
were, you know?
funny.
That's hilarious.
And he was Ty Birdwell's mechanic back then.
Yep.
So anyway, you know, you made friends and then you figured out who was really a person in the industry and this and that.
Yeah.
And so,
Yep.
so we were in there all the time, but yeah, that's where that
is
name
hilarious.
came from.
That's funny. It's a good name. I think it like.
Well, you know, so like a couple months into it, I really regretted it because everyone thought I was Chad Pedersen. Chad Pedersen from Iowa. His nickname was Swap.
Gotcha.
But
For sketchy reasons?
yeah,
Like for swapping a lot?
But,
Yeah.
but I didn't think of Chad when I typed in Swap on there. You
Right.
know?
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
Everyone thinks it's him.
That's a weird one because Swap Moto, I legitimately just recently put together that swap is like a term to like loop out. Like I obviously knew, like swapping,
Yeah.
but it never registered. Like Swap Moto just sounds like a
well, you
good,
want to know why
like-
it turned into Swap Moto? So at Transworld, we launched Transworld Motocross, but like the internet was still pretty new back then. So we only had a magazine and we didn't have a website. And so I was Garth Milan, the photographer.
Yeah.
He,
Oh,
and
Garth's
he
sick.
and I started Transworld. And we're pushing Brad McDonald, like, we need a website. We need a website. So he builds this super primitive website. And so we used to post on it, on the website and stuff. And my username was Swap.
Mhm.
I forgot my password. And I couldn't recover my password. So I had to create another username to post on the website.
Swap
No
Moto.
shit.
And Garth's thing, for some reason, I don't know why he wasn't just Garth. He was GMX Milan. So like for Garth Motocross Milan.
Yep.
Yep.
But then he became GMX Moto or so. I don't know. So he was just just make it Swap Moto. So then I turned my screen name into Swap Moto.
Damn, that's
crazy
how it ended up coming about.
Yeah. And it's funny because the first rider that would just call me Swap Moto was Jake Weimer. When I went to his
shit.
house to do something, he's all, Swap Moto, what's up? And I was like,
That's funny. Weimer's funny.
And then it ends up sticking, right?
yeah.
So how did you get to where you are now? Where, I mean, like, in your opinion, what exactly is Swap Moto Live? Because you guys do a ton of shit.
Yeah. Well, like at Transworld, right? When media was different, as magazines were the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like we're like, oh, we're the well-rounded magazine. We cover racing, we cover the personalities, we test bikes and products, and we cover freestyle.
Yeah.
So we had all 5 things covered. So I'd like to think Swap Moto Live's the same thing. Like we do everything, right? Like, cause for a long time, RacerX did not test bikes.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. Cause I mean, Davey Coombs and I we're pretty good friends, and
Mm-hmm.
he always said, I'm going to hire you. I'm like, I'm not going to come there because I want to ride dirt bikes, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Swap Moto Live. It's funny when we all got fired, right? My buddy Chad Smart, he owns Baghouse. You know Baghouse,
Oh, yeah.
right?
It's right in Corona, right?
Yeah, it's a sheet metal place, but they do a mountain bike team. He told me to read this book called Who Moved My Cheese. It is like one of those self-help business things.
Yep.
The premise of it is like you always have to adapt, keep up with the changing world around you
Keep
and
up with
everything.
the
You don't get
times.
complacent.
Yep.
And so I like to think of us sticking to that mantra now, right? Because fuck, everything's changed so much.
Right.
Like if you go back to my start of my career, I used to have to go to the flat track races with a reporter's notebook, which is like long and skinny, right? And
Yep.
Because you just tape notes. All I had to do was take notes.
Was that like the Costa Mesa ones? Or was it like local, like Paris? Or...
No, that's Speedway. No, I would go to the Grand National Flat Track.
Speedway. I'm sorry. I mixed that up.
But I mean, all I had to do was take notes and type a story on Monday morning.
No shit.
you know. And then these days you go to the race and you have to
have it up like that.
Yeah, you shoot photos, shoot video, still post a story on the internet, on the website, and then there's social media, and then there's videos. It's just crazy. You just
Yeah.
Technology is supposed to make your life easier, but it's made it harder.
It's more complicated.
In this capacity, right?
When you're at Supercross, don't you sit up in the journalist booth?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm usually on the floor.
Oh, you are on the floor? Oh, so you still do. I thought Chase just was shooting on the floor.
Anton shoots photos.
Or Anton.
I shoot photos. Chase shoots video, but we're not allowed to video Supercross.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we all do our own thing.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought you were up in the journalist booth or that had someone up there. Maybe not.
So even you guys don't get
bored up there.
Even you guys don't get to film the racing?
No, you're not allowed. Well, I think the rules change every year, right? But like, I think you can film like
Practice
1 minute,
and qualifying.
1 minute of action or something. Or
Yeah, Dirt Shark always gets race clips.
Well, because he works for Monster.
But exactly. But other than him, I don't think anyone else does.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I assumed that the bigger outlets that like, you know, everybody's going to, I assume that they would allow them. That's crazy that it's that gnarly. So how long have you been testing bikes and that side of stuff?
32 years.
Damn. So that's...
I think I've ridden like every production bike made.
That's
or
crazy.
I'd say 90% of them over the last 30 years.
So like...
Motocross bikes, at least.
Now where we are.
You'd think I'd be better.
Yeah, I mean...
You ride cautious, let's say that.
Well, after, you know, you ride all of them all the time. You don't have time to get really settled on one, you know?
Wow. You don't have time to get hurt either.
Good excuse.
But, yeah, I got you. Don't worry. Right now, going into 2023, what is the best bike for an average dirt bike rider to go buy? And Swap's opinion. Race sometimes on the weekends.
Average consumer to go buy.
Yeah, like, you know, somebody
Gas.
in Ohio, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, dude, the gas is sick.
The gas is sick.
It's affordable. It works great. And it's easy to ride.
Have you got your hands on that new factory edition yet or no?
No.
Because I heard it's a lot different.
Yeah. Well, it's the new chassis.
Yeah. So I'm curious how that is.
Not yet.
Yeah.
We just finished our 450 shootout like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Pierce and I think Barsha and Mojman are on the new bike, but it looked like it was like they just got them because there was like no stickers.
Yeah,
like
right?
it looks like
Did
they
you know
just
for a
got
while
them.
that the gas guys were riding KTMs?
Were they?
Yeah.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Because they didn't
with
have
red
new
frame?
bikes.
Yeah, because they didn't have the new gas yet, but it's the same chassis and everything.
No
so they were just
shit.
painting the frames red.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So what won the shootout
Cowie.
this year? Cowie.
Yeah. Cowie's won the last 3 years. Like it was all new in 2020 and 21, 22. No, it was all new in 21. When 21, 22, and 23.
Dang. What's your take on the new Yamaha 450?
Dude, it's good.
It's funny because, I mean, I'm sure I can say it. I don't really care. But a buddy of mine ran into Tomac in the airport, and he was on his way to Florida, and he was asking about the new Yamaha, and he said it was really good, but he said that the frame was really rigid and stiff. Did you ever notice that, or maybe that's a Supercross thing?
Dude, I mean, well, you've been an elite guy. The things that you look for in a bike for riding Supercross are completely different than what like Ryan and I are looking for
100%.
to ride Kauai.
That's what I tell him
Right?
all the time. Yeah. Like I literally told him, I'm like, if you are able to get around a Supercross track where I can't even talk to you. There's no point in even having
the
a
bikes aren't
conversation.
tested to do that.
like you know, all the top guys had issues with the new KTM Husky chassis, right?
Yes.
Dude, it's the sickest KTM I've ever ridden.
No shit.
For me,
For outdoor and
Kauai, Paris, or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But like in a Supercross capacity, going that fast, hitting shit that hard, I'm sure it's completely different. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's crazy because you know I've heard Mathis say a couple times, but they're saying that they still think the new chassis of the KTM Husky like doesn't look as good in the whoops. I mean, I saw. I mean, Craig and Malcolm are going to be good.
Yeah,
no matter what.
We just watched a
but
clip. Of
have
Christian.
you heard any feedback from either of them or anyone?
It's funny because
They said like France, even though Coop, Webb, and Marvin are not the best in the whoops, they said that the KTM's looked the worst in the whoops.
I don't know because I was just with Christian yesterday, right? And I got to go to the team intro.
Yep. That was
And
so badass.
so I filmed just this raw video, which you guys talk shit on, by the way.
Which one?
Why? We did?
Well, so we got this thing, like we have a sponsor that likes raw video, right?
Yeah.
A raw video does really well on our YouTube with like no slow-mo edits and all that. And this. So it's like, I just find a vantage point and boom, film them for 2 laps. And so we had these videos called 2 laps, but like somebody at some point told Chase like, oh, the Insider podcast guys are talking shit. Like, oh, they don't even edit their videos. They just put up 2 laps.
No way, really?
I don't remember saying that, and I would own that.
Yeah, I would for sure own up to it. But
and if it was definitely Ritter. I'm just kidding.
if anybody was talking shit, it was probably me. But he'd have to pull that up for me because I don't.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I like the
so
raw
I did the
footage.
2
Yeah,
laps,
because I
right?
do like the raw footage.
It's
too.
sick.
2 laps. And then even on my personal Instagram, I put up 1 lap with Christian.
Yeah.
Dude, the comments. Oh, he would have passed himself on his 250 Yamaha. He looks like crap.
Oh, did you see his post last night?
Yeah. Well, he did that, I think, because I was teasing him. Well,
Yeah.
dude, how about like, I was like, dude, the Craig family has this amazing social media presence.
Yeah.
And you're very calculated with everything. I go, how does it feel when you just get hammered on social media? And he's like, oh, like on your post? And I go, yeah. And he brought up a good point. He goes, well, you only had video footage of me and Malcolm going through it, right? And he goes, on a 450, we're going through the whoops in 4th gear. On a 250, we're going through in 4th gear, wide open.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's funny because RJ and Jalik look like crap in the whoops compared to Christian and Thing. And if I had put a footage of those guys up in the whoops compared to Christian and Malcolm, people would have seen how good Christian and Malcolm are going,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a different thing, right? Did you race 480 Supercross?
Yeah, I did. And honestly, I was going to say, like, especially at their level, but even for me, I felt like a built 250 with a good turn before it. Whoops were easier on a 250. They're harder on a 450 because you have to still be in that taller gear, but you cannot hold it wide open or even half throttle. It's fucking
Right.
scary. The bike is so fast. To where a 250, you come out in 4th and you wide open, drop the hammer and just go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like that's
very
not even
true.
a fair comparison, but it's also like, you know, there's certain riders where like you'll watch them and be like, oh, their time has to be the fastest. Like they look fast, but they're not actually going fast. Like Barsh is fast as shit, but sometimes he looks like he's going faster
Faster than he is.
than he is.
Yeah.
But like I guarantee you, if you clock Craig first whoop to last whoop, he might look faster on the 250, but I bet the time's the same.
Yeah,
He just doesn't look as fast.
I don't know how anybody could say that because when you watch Christian, he's just so fluent and so clean and perfect with everything. Like I would
smooth.
watch him and be like, that's a bitch in lap time right there because he made no mistakes. We just watched a clip of him before you got here
The slow-mo and the whoop.
of him going through the whoops. I think Pinned Out posted it. And it's the second clip is from the side a little bit and the bike is just working perfect. He hits the same exact spot in every single whoop. His head movement, everything is just perfectly straight and nothing moves.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how anybody could watch him and think
Talk
that,
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, what he did say, to your point, is he goes on a 250, your biggest concern is slipping the clutch out of the turn before in 4th. And then you just hold it wide open.
Yep.
And he said on the 450, you're in 3rd, and you have to modulate your throttle so you don't get too revved out and go too fast. Or
Yeah.
You can't let the front end drop if you let off too much.
Yeah.
So he says there's way more involved in whoops. And I was like, well, you've raced a 450 in Supercross and you got in 4th place.
Yeah.
You know? And he goes, yeah, but they just remember me on the Yamaha just going da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the Star Bike is like, dude, out of the corner before the whoops. I don't care if
Yeah.
you're in 5th gear. That thing pulls so hard.
Yeah.
Hey, on that note, dude, how about that clip of Kenny on the Suzuki going through those whoops?
Dude.
Are you talking about the
killed.
first? Wait, are you talking about the
one he put
most
up
recent clip?
this morning, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are those whoops really small or something?
No.
Dude,
Well, it's funny
those
because
whoops.
his first day on the bike, when he was just testing it before it was official,
Yeah.
he went through them, and I was like, he doesn't look like he looked fast, but I was like, but that track is, I feel like it's not really built right. I think
I don't know,
they've
man.
redone it a couple times.
His whip speed in that clip was stupid.
No, I know, but like when I'm watching him, he looked really good, but I just like, I don't know, that track I feel like is built really
You
weird.
better not be taking anything away from him right now.
Oh, I'm not. I literally put on my story. I was like, I don't know why. Like anyone in the industry, if they said they were going to Suzuki, I'd be like, why? Like, no. He looks sick on it. Maybe it's the Red Bull helmet, like, and he 2016 look. Like,
I don't know. I
don't know.
I
but
totally
I
agree
was
with
pulling
you.
for it so hard.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree with you.
I'm glad
Anybody
he
else goes to Suzuki at his level, and I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
a little weird. Like that might be a
Yeah.
bullet into the career. But
No.
Kenny is the dude that could possibly go out and fucking win or podium on a Suzuki. And if and when he does do that, first of all the haters, that's a fucking dirty, smelly sock in the mouth.
Right.
And you have to chew on it.
Yeah.
But what happens to Suzuki sales after he starts winning? Dude, people start buying Suzukis
Or
again?
do they have interest to maybe revamp the bike?
Dude, you know what's weird? So there's all the people talking shit on Suzuki's like, need Kickstarter,
Right.
same bike for 10 years. On our shootout video this year, there's like 40% of the comments are like, this is not a real shootout. There's no Suzuki. Or yeah, sure, just
No
shit on the
shit.
just shit on the RM Army. I'm like, dude, what's all this Suzuki support? You know, like,
You know what's funny is if you did have it though, those are probably the same people that are going on and they're like, Suzukis are pieces of shit. Why do you even have them in there? You
I mean,
know
the
what
thing
They're
is like
just-
the only thing we did differently this year and for the 23 shootout versus 22 is in the 23 shootout, I forgot to mention the reason we don't have a Suzuki is that U.S. Suzuki has declined participation. Right?
No
like
shit.
last year, I said that in the intro, and so we'd gotten out of it. So this year, they just figured we shit on Suzuki and didn't have them. But no, they don't. They didn't. They said, "Hey, we don't want to be in the comparison. Can you just do some other builds or do some tests or something?" You know.
Yeah.
So we do stuff with our Suzuki throughout the rest of the year. They're just not in the shootout, right?
Right.
So anyway, so that they're not in the shootout, and all these people are like, "Oh, it's not a real shootout. There's no Suzuki. You know, how could you guys do that to them?"
So where they are right now, what's your opinion on one?
What do you mean, like
a for somebody to go out and buy a brand new Suzuki 250
Well,
or
dude,
450F?
I mean, I know suggested retail is still like probably $8 or $9 grand, but I've seen pictures of bikes on Instagram, like at dealers, like a
5,500.
brand new, 2021, which is the same as a 23,
Right.
for like $6 grand or something, right?
Right.
But I mean, even now, if you buy a Suzuki, a 23, you get a free throttle syndicate graphics kit, and you get a free Yosh pipe, which is $1,200, right?
Right.
So I mean,
That's not bad.
I feel like for somebody started, I think I've heard maybe it was Pingree or somebody talk about this where I don't know why somebody in the marketing department at Suzuki doesn't just like, hey, let's sell this bike as you're just getting into motocross. You're wanting to buy your first brand new dirt bike or whatever it is. Let's make this the first dirt bike that you buy, right? It still has a Kickstarter, whatever.
Teaches you responsibility.
Yeah, right. Sure. Like it teaches you how.
Teaches you how to be a man.
Yeah, it teaches you how to
concentrate on not
start a
stalling.
motor
It builds
without a
the
fucking
calves.
button. Yeah, it builds the calves a little bit, which we all probably need.
One calf actually, but
Yeah, true. But exactly. It's a brand new dirt bike that you can go ride at the local track. That's not 12 grand out the door. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why do you
mean-
think Suzuki doesn't sell it like that?
yeah, okay. So if you go buy a Suzuki now, right, you get the graphics, and you get the pipe. Spend $400 and buy a RMZ 250 shock, the Showa shock. Because the worst thing about the bike is the BFRC Showa shock.
is that that road racing design shock? That big black box. It's got like, it's weird. It's not like a normal shock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
It's terrible.
it doesn't stay down the corners like.
No, I've actually ridden
Yeah.
that bike before.
You put a 250 shock on it, get it valved. I mean, you already saved the $1,200 on the pipe, right?
Yeah.
Shock. Isn't it pretty amazing that shock's only $400?
I was just gonna ask you. It's $400.
cheap, yeah.
That's it.
That's
That's
good.
crazy.
Put a shock on it because you're gonna get it set up for yourself anyway, right?
Mhm.
Dude, Ritter, if you and I got RMZ 450s and got that shock and set up for ourselves, we'd be just as pumped riding laps at Kauai as we would on your bike or my bike.
No
Well,
shit.
and the 450 is actually not. It's not slow. Like
No.
it's pretty good.
No, there's
And
no
if you
450
build it,
that's slow.
no, but like it's smooth. But like I mean, if you're
I would love to
Tomac
ride
looking
one.
to just wring the neck out of it, yeah, it might be a little off.
Yeah.
But when you build them though, I heard like the Hep bikes are fast as shit, and
Dude,
Suzuki
I
starts.
bet they're good.
Suzuki, I heard, was the best starting bike.
Yeah, A-Ray did the Australian Supercross.
Yep.
He's like, dude. I was like, is it faster now than it was when you were on the team? And he says,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
not even close.
And the show
No
of suspension.
shit.
yeah. Yeah, he had Olin's.
Yeah, it was so bad. Well,
Yeah,
that's like
that's
one thing I
so
love about
interesting.
like it's cool to see how far the Hep team has come. But like switching to show was like one of the biggest things. But now they have Dave Cruz on board, and they think he's like head suspension guy.
I think Larry
And
Brooks
then,
is over there, right?
Team
Brooks
manager,
is team
yeah.
manager.
That's gangster.
Jamie
That's
Ellis.
fucking sick.
Jamie Ellis is doing motors or ignition, whatever, and then Scott Bennett is Showa. So it's like he has, and I'm sure him and Scott have a past relationship from RCH days. So it's like that's a winning like team as far as the people behind
They
it.
got the recipe.
Like those
Dude,
are some of the best dudes in the industry.
Kenny is going to win one of the first like 3 rounds.
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think so.
For sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's A1 because he thrives off that hype. Everyone comes in nervous and like so amped up, and he's just like chill and just ready.
And Tomac's on the new bike.
And everyone I feel like comes into A1 like scared and nervous or just so antsy, and he's like the most cool, calm, collected, and
Yeah.
like he loves that.
And what is Jet on a 250 for one more year? Is
Just
that what-
Supercross.
250 indoors.
just
For the
Supercross.
outdoor.
450 outdoors, yeah.
That's heavy. How do you think that goes?
Jet outdoors?
Yeah.
I think he'll make some mistakes and have some crazy crashes, but dude, he's going to win.
Yeah. I think
Look
so
at him
too.
at Destinations.
What about the recent rumor Sexton to KTM in 24?
Do you think it's true?
I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Yeah. I'm just surprised it got leaked this early. But then again, everyone knew Ken was going to Honda a year before.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that type of shit just gets out in our sport.
but it also does make sense with Lawrence brothers both having to move up.
And I bet KTM wrote him a fucking hell of a bag.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. Have you heard like with Cooper? Do you know how much longer he plans on? At least a couple more years, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Because
I think AP has one more year left on his deal.
on deals, I'm not sure. I was just thinking about careers, but like,
Well, career for Cooper,
Like-
but Aaron's deal I think is just this year.
is Cooper supposed to retire after this year?
I don't think. Well,
I don't see
know.
him- I don't
I don't
see
think
Cooper
so.
having
But
much
like
more.
when he took the summer off, I know he said he was like burnt out.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of regenerated him, and he's hungry again. So I think he'll probably go 2 more. But I'm just thinking if he's got a 2-year deal, then Aaron's probably gonna have to go if Chase comes.
Right.
Well, because Marvin's out after this.
Yeah.
Supercross, yeah.
But I would
Although
like
I
to
don't
see
know- I
a
don't-
switch, maybe AP to Honda, or well, maybe they'd be full. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
This is an early silly season,
Yeah.
2024.
How do you think Colt's going to do on a Honda?
You know, it's funny. I think he's gonna do pretty good. I think a lot of people are kind of writing him off. Not writing him off, but just like, oh, like
forget
he has
how good he was.
exactly because you're forgotten about. Like you remember the last time he raced, he won a championship, and then he comes back to defend or to come on another coast.
Crashes
And he
the
was
first
leading
weekend.
the heat race,
Yeah.
Burned, yeah.
right? But that injury was bad, but he's back to his normal self. I think everyone's just like, oh, well, he only has 3 months on a 450 and then it's just a Supercross only deal, I think, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he has this limited amount of time to make something happen. But I don't know. Colt's pretty strong mentally. I think
He looks good on the bike. I
think
I
he
haven't
does
seen
good.
him. I've just seen a couple clips, but I'm excited. I think he's going to do really good. I think
Yeah.
he's going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I think Colt does good.
I'm a fan of Colt.
Where does Bogle go?
I have heard nothing on him. I'm assuming he's going to do the MDX or whatever it's called
Is
just
that-
on his own,
Does that
MDK?
carry over
or
to
MDK.
Yeah.
I think that's his father-in-law, right? Started that. I think it is.
I'm not sure.
I think it is.
I
It was
know
like a Porsche racing team or
Was
something
that just
in Europe.
a World Supercross thing, or is that going to carry over?
Well,
into
it
this?
was World Supercross, but I could maybe see him doing maybe just him. Or him and Benny. Or no.
Yeah, because it
Maybe
was
just
him, Grant, Derek Drake, and Reed, right?
Yep. See, I haven't seen anything on Drake.
He's back on a Suzuki.
Oh, he's back on Bar X. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
So Bar X is Drake.
Mumford.
Mumford's hurt.
Did you see him at Media Day? Mumford?
Yesterday?
I think so. Because Ritter said he
Yeah.
saw pictures of him like posing and everything, and he like didn't have a cast or anything.
Yeah, I don't. I saw the picture on his
But
Instagram.
He was
his
holding
wrist
his
was
hips.
his wrist
yeah,
was destroyed.
but you know you can't zoom in on a stories.
Yeah.
I didn't care enough to screenshot
Yeah.
and zoom in, but
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it doesn't look like he has a cast.
He
on.
looked-
Maybe
he might have had surgery and a brace,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I don't know.
But I guess he's East Coast now. He's gonna
Yeah.
be back in
okay.
town.
I heard Marchbanks just got hurt too, broken
No.
wrist,
Both I
I
heard.
believe.
He broke what?
I think wrist.
Both of them.
Both.
That's what I heard.
Oh, that sucks too. Because I swear, dude, if he's 100% healthy and ready, he's a championship contender.
Yeah, and he's
I
doing
think.
East Coast.
So he'll be East Coast. Ooh.
He's going to do East Coast anyway, but
Oh.
he
Well then.
now he's hoping to be ready for the first round from what I heard. But yeah, I mean, I think he's got a good chance at.
Especially
You know.
on the East Coast if everyone's
Exactly.
healthy on the West.
Right.
Like if
What's Jet doing? Is Jet doing West Coast? Do we
I
know
think
yet?
East. Or was
Really?
he West?
He's East champion.
He's East champion, so I think he's going to defend unless he pulls a quick one and tries to do what Colt did. But I see him defending.
How often do you do your show? Is it once a week or twice a week or?
They're sold as once a week. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
How difficult is it for you to schedule guests?
It sucks.
It's horrible, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the
Well,
worst
it's
things
easier
about it.
now. It's easier now here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we're just up the road. But before COVID, we were using the television studio at Callaway Golf,
Yeah.
and that was in Carlsbad, right? So that was a pain in the ass because to ask a rider, hey, can you come do a show down in Carlsbad? You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, that's so far.
It was crazy though because like, dude, my first guest ever was Jason Anderson.
No shit.
And I was like, hey, dude, would you come down and do this show? And he's all, yeah, okay. I'll come after Glenn Helen. He drove all the way down there. But it's funny because I thought it was so great that he drove that far. But he told me the other day, he goes, that's when I lived in Pacific Beach.
I was gonna say he probably lived in PB at the time.
So the one and only dude that it's actually not
But
that far
that
for.
fool drives from Laguna to the
Yeah.
test track every day.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why he drives a Prius.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still drives a Prius.
Oh, yeah.
I think
He
still
drives
does.
a Prius with a bike rack on the back
Yeah.
so that the bike rack covers the license plate for the toll road.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not even for the bike. They put a bike on there.
He's crafty.
Oh, I love
Jason's
Jason.
one of the funniest dudes, isn't he?
Dude.
He's like the funniest low key. Dude.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he's even trying to be, but just the little shit like that is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, he was like, because we had him on the show again
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, dude, come do another show. And he's like, oh, okay. Where's it at? And I'm like, we're in Menifee. He's like, oh, all right. I guess I can come after this. And I'm like, all right, sick. And he goes, we got to talk about my appearance fee. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Is he kidding or serious?
Well, so then I text
I'll buy you Chipotle.
I text Tickle. And I go, he says he wants appearance fee. He goes, he's fucking with you.
But if you offer it, he'll take it.
So I was like, all right, well, yeah. All right, we'll talk about it. And he goes, okay, we'll talk about it in person. I go, well, I'll bring you Chipotle. And he goes, okay.
Yep.
Because the first show that he ever did, because when we were at Callaway, it was pretty legit. We would line up like 5 shows. And Pilo from OGO,
Yep.
he would just bring a spread of food and everything. And so I remember back then, I was like, hey, what do you want to eat? And Jason was like, oh, Chipotle. So we got him a Chipotle bowl.
Yeah.
It's always
But,
Chipotle.
But yeah, so just kind of as a joke, he came in and I gave him a $100 Chipotle card.
Oh my god.
And he goes, oh, dude.
He's
That
stoked.
covers the next couple times.
He's all, oh, dude, really? I was kidding. I was like, nah, it's good.
Especially
That's
he
funny.
probably gets 3-point bowls.
Yeah.
They're cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That is so funny.
yeah, I don't know. It's it's cool. Like when guys are in town, you'd think it'd be super easy, right?
Oh, it's
But,
more.
like,
It's harder because they're only in town for so long.
yeah, and then there's so many things going on. Like I had Christian yesterday, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll come," and then he sends me a screenshot of a text from somebody on the team, like, "Hey, you have to go to the shop and do a thing with Rockstar after this."
Oh, yeah.
So like that's why I'm leaving here, and Malcolm's coming to do a thing.
That's cool.
But Malcolm was supposed to do yesterday, and he calls me, he goes, "Hey man, I've been at this press day thing, you know, the
Yeah.
collateral for the television, you know, where they're like putting on their gloves and all that."
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "How's that? And how'd you do this?" He goes, "I've been talking too much. I'm not coming."
Yeah.
I'm talked out
And
today.
yeah, that's the thing is like these guys are so mentally drained from all the shit that they're doing. Like, I almost feel bad asking them, "Hey, are you down to come sit on a podcast for an hour and talk about more of your shit?" You know?
And especially the factory dudes, like they have to do like you said, an hour videoing of just putting gloves on, putting a helmet on. Like they're not even going out to the track yet.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, put your helmet on again, do this, do that. And like, dude, I remember after going and riding a full day's worth, and then I'm like, I guess still got to go to the gym. After the gym, you don't even want to watch TV. You want to lay in bed with the TV off. Like, so yeah, to go and do, that's why like I appreciate when people do come in, because I'm like, dude, I know what you're dealing with and some. Like,
Yeah. Who have you found to be like some of the funnest people to talk to and interview in like this type of setting? Malcolm?
Malcolm's good. Hanny's good.
Yeah. I just watched your one with Annie.
Um,
He's always interesting.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah,
out of him.
dude. I've had him on 3 times, and all 3 times I had a different Hanny.
oh, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, dude, he like the last one, he looked good. Like he
Yeah.
looked clean.
That
like,
was corpo Hanny, right?
That was
Like-
corporate Hanny for
Yeah,
sure.
It was kind of funny to hear him say like he's just over the cool guy thing. He doesn't even care about his style and shit. Like he's just
Yeah, 'cause it's
like you know
already
what he
so
does.
sick.
Yeah.
But like it's just like funny to because Hanny's just always like kept the persona.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like he's always kept the face going in front of cameras. Like again, you never know what you're gonna get from him.
Is he racing Anaheim?
No.
I heard he
No.
is. No,
No.
not
He's-
the whole thing. I just heard
he's the-
Anaheim.
He's
Maybe
the team tester.
That's what I
Test
figured.
driver,
Yeah.
Why Hanny's what, like 36?
Six,
Six
probably.
now?
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah. He did.
He's about Weimer's age. Or no, he's older. I think he's older.
Yeah.
Than
I
Weimer.
don't know. What is
They're
Weimer?
close. I
Weimer's-
think Weimer's about that.
Yeah. It was cool to hear him say that, like, if more events like straight rhythm
rhythm.
or something like that would pop up, that he would do it. So, or if the bag is right, I think if the money's right, you could get him to do whatever.
Exactly.
But
$100 Chipotle card should do.
You know what's funny is he came out when we we have our race series. So when we did the first vet race, the Trans Am, he came out and raced.
no shit.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was like, "Hey, come race, dude." He's like, "All right." And he showed up and he raced.
That's another thing. Your series is fucking awesome. Like for somebody who doesn't want to go race, fucking
All day.
Yeah, all day or
Sit
like
around all day.
Cal Classic or like all these races that you got kids that are
Yeah.
really taking it serious racing at.
Well,
like,
they're good warm up races too for like before a national. Or
yeah,
something.
well, that's what's cool is like you don't know who you're gonna have there. You might show up and fucking be racing against Hanny. Like you never know who you're gonna have show up, but it's always chill. It's never like too serious. I've raced a few of them. They're a fucking blast. How do you manage to juggle that in the schedule?
Well, so in our current configuration of Swap Moto Live, I do not own that race series.
Oh, no shit.
When it was the Transworld race series, Transworld owned it, right?
Yep.
But when we launched Swap Moto Live, it was like looking into it because like so many people were like, "Oh, where's the races?" You know, and because we were down for 3 months, I think.
Yep.
And Aaron Cook,
Yep.
who's the race director at Transworld, he and Craig Davis teamed up and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna start the series, but we want to be involved with you guys, so we're like licensing partners. Like we sell their advertising and sponsorship,
Gotcha.
and we're like the namesake."
Yeah.
And it's worked out
Does
great
good
for
for
us.
it.
Yeah, it's worked out great for us. I mean, it's a good partnership.
Yep.
I still feel like it's my deal. Like I love going to the races, and after I'm done, I like. It's gonna sound dumb. One of my favorite things is to grab my broom, and I go to the starting line, and I look, and there's always somebody that doesn't have someone to help.
Yeah.
So I'm out there sweeping gates for people, or it's
That's
fun.
sick, though.
I like it. It's like help out a little bit, or like dude, you're not really gonna start on that dirt. Come on, get back and sweep it.
It's a dirt concrete start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's something about, I don't know, even like when I was amateur, like Glen Helen was always forever. It was concrete. I think it's dirt now, right? Permanently.
Yeah. Glen
but
Helen's
like
the only
something
dirt
about
site,
sweeping the concrete was just like therapeutic. Like I used to like to do it as
Yeah.
a racer.
Yeah,
Be like, hey,
yeah.
hold my bike. And it's like packing your gate.
Yeah,
You know
it
what I
is.
mean? Now we just start on mesh, or used to. So
Yeah.
you don't get that luxury anymore.
Yeah, right. So who do you got this season? Who do you think's gonna take the 250, 450 titles?
Oh. I think it'd be pretty silly to bet against Jet on the East, and go for my yellow slant-eyed cousin Joe Shimoda
Yeah,
on the West.
yeah.
Shimoda looks good.
I gotta say, one of my favorite, like, legitimately one of my favorite clips ever surfaced on the internet was the clip of you asking Joe what his favorite curse word was. And I've like went back and showed people multiple times, just like, if you haven't seen this clip, you have to see it type thing. Like, and his just little pause, and he's like, bitch. And you couldn't even like contain yourself. You just start burst out laughing. Like,
He's
that
so
was one of the
cool.
best clips ever.
He's such a good kid too.
Yeah, I love Joe. Joe's one of those kids that I almost don't think he gets enough credit for like how much personality he brings, because everybody's like, oh, Jet this, Jet that, and granted, Jet is fucking amazing when it comes to media and the having a personality and all that. Jet is fucking spot on with it, but Joe is a funny fucking character.
Yeah.
And for a kid that rides the way Joe does,
Yeah.
he's fucking hilarious. Even his style on like Instagram and shit, the way he posts stuff, like he's different. He's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny.
He said, he showed up to the track. Kawasaki rented the Paris for us to give us the 23 250, but they also invited the Pro Circuit guys and Jason to come out and ride.
Jason was ripping that stock 250,
Right?
dude. Yeah.
Dude, he was doing the same lap times as Joe.
Was he?
Yeah, on a
Dude.
stock one. But
I'd like to see him on a factory 250.
but Joe showed up like to the track, and he's wearing some fucking $500 Nikes.
Yeah.
And I'm all, dude, you can't wear those in the dirt and get them muddy. And he goes, the drip don't stop.
And I just picture his voice saying
Yeah.
it with the left.
Holy shit, that is funny.
That's awesome.
But it's fun. It's been fun for me to see him come out of his shell.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
And he's so, yeah, I mean, he says shit now that I'm too old to understand, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what does that mean, Joe?
Can you dumb it down for me?
He's so fucking funny. I think Joe wins a handful of races this year.
I think so.
Didn't
Didn't he win last year? One or two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think Jet's going to be really hard to bet against, especially like, he's at the tail end of his 250 career. But I think Joe's going to be up there. Justin Cooper's on a 450 now?
Yeah, but he's not doing supercross. Maybe a couple, but they don't have a spot for him.
He's doing 250 outdoors.
250 outdoor. Because he's not eligible, but that doesn't apply outdoor.
But he's been posting pictures of his 450
Yeah.
with his number on it, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
They said that he was going to ride the 450 in supercross to get his feet wet and then maybe race a couple. Or if one of the dudes gets hurt, Eli
Gotcha.
or Dylan, maybe.
Yeah.
So
But
that's kind of a weird deal.
The video I saw, he actually looked pretty damn good.
on a 450?
Yeah.
On Soupy?
Yeah. It was at MTF, I think.
Okay.
But
Yeah, but hey, getting back to the whole Eli thing, right? The new bike, because Eli was gonna, I think, retire, but
Yeah.
then he rode the new bike and decided not to. So I was talking to him and I said, "This is like after how was your weekend or something?" I was like, "Hey, dude, so how's the new bike?" And he did that thing where he just gets kind of quiet and he bobs his head and he's like, "It's a big deal. It's a big deal. I really like it, right?"
was that the Paris intro? Like when he rode it for the first time? Or
No,
was it
no,
after
this was
he rode a Star
this was
one?
before that.
Oh,
like,
before that.
before the before
Before the bike
they
was
were
even
here.
shown.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but it was probably stock.
Yeah, but then it's funny because I've heard other things now that he's not like getting along with it.
Yeah, yeah.
I've heard that he liked the old one better.
Really?
So like I know that going back and forth from
That's
old
gotta
to
be
new
hard.
mess with him, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's why I believed when a buddy of mine saw him in the airport and said about it being really rigid. It kind of makes sense because I have heard that he's kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, but dude, the thing is, it's gnarly.
Yeah.
Do you like
looks
it when
so
you ride
good.
it?
Yeah. So I think like it got second in our shootout, right?
Yeah.
But like for us, we're a little different, right? Because like MXA was profess their decisions as the Bible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they will put in settings. What put in like the setting for Jody at Glen Helen's not going to work for
Jody.
somebody at
Yeah.
Binghamton, New York. You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
But anyway, so like our shootouts, we present them as an event. It's an event, and it's a collection of opinions from a set of riders.
Yeah.
And
Which I think is super
that's
neat.
how we choose, like, some older guys, some younger guys, some faster guys, slower.
Yeah.
So that somebody can find a test rider to identify with. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what we were talking about before is like you need, Dylan and I were saying like, that's what these shootouts, some of them are a little tough to go off because it's like, well, yeah, you're watching fucking some dude that I can't do none of the shit he's doing. So,
or like, I remember there was a shootout once with like all pro guys, like
Right.
are all like former like national gnarly guys.
right.
And I'm like, okay, yeah. And I mean, the funniest thing was that like in that shootout, then the one I'm talking about is when the 250 Cowie and Suzuki were the same,
Yep.
but Emig picked the Cowie first and the Suzuki fifth.
And it was the
They're
same bike. Same
right?
exact
But he's a
bike.
Cowie
Yep.
guy back there, right? So I mean, it was
That's
like
so
there was no
funny.
validity to that
Yeah.
shootout.
Yeah.
But anyway, so our shootout, the Yamaha got second. It could have very easily won.
Yep.
Just the way the bike was set up for us that particular day. It's funny because when I first got on the thing, they set it up with 100 mil of sag, right? But like how many millimeters of sag has every bike in the last 15 years had? 105,
105.
right? When I rode the Yamaha in Florida, they set it up at 95.
Oh my gosh.
And
Stock?
I couldn't touch the ground, and I'm like, "Hey, what's my sag?" And they're all 95. I'm all, "Why?" And they're like, "Oh, it works good here." And well, lo and behold, it worked great there, right?
Oh, it did.
Yeah, but the Star Trek was prepped to perfection. It was
Yeah.
like chocolate brownies, right?
Yeah.
And it worked great. But I still had some concerns about the cornering there.
Mm-hmm.
But so at our shootout, I was like, got on it, and they set it up. I'm like, "What's my sag?" And they're like, 100. Well, why is it 100 instead of 95? Like, oh, well, in Florida, 95 worked good here. And I was like, okay. So I wrote it, and I swear to God, if like it had been some sort of blind taste test, right? If I had like
Different bike.
if I had white fender on it, on all the bikes, I would have thought I was on a Honda.
No
You
shit.
know, it,
Handled way
it
better.
was all twitchy, and it was nose heavy.
Oh, it was worse.
Yeah, and I came in, I'm all, dude, can we lower the forks and the clamps? And they were like, okay, yeah. And so they did it, and I'm all, can I do this? Can I add rebound and go out on high speed compression on the shock? And Travis Preston is R&D for Yamaha.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Him and
fucking
Tokarski.
amazing rider, good friend of mine. Like I respect the hell out of him, but like, dude, he's 6'9" or something, right? And he's like, he shits more speed than I've ever had in my life, right?
He's fast.
But he's like, you're wrong, dude. Oh, okay, there's no wrong opinions.
Yeah.
So then I asked, well, can we put the sag to 105? Because I feel like it's still front end biased. And he wouldn't let me. He's like, no, just leave it here. And so, you got to ride 7 bikes at a shootout. So
Yeah.
like, okay. And I got on the next bike. But looking forward next week to getting on the bike and
Trying 105.
setting it up as I really want
How
it
you
and
want
seeing
it,
and doing
right.
a follow up on it, and like, hey, this is what we really think of the thing. Now we've had time to play with it. But
Yeah.
it's funny because after the shootout, we do this thing called the round table we all get together at Blackmore Ranch and bullshit.
Yep.
And Pat Foster's like, oh yeah, I ended up going to 105. I'm all, he let you go to 105?
You're all pissed.
He wouldn't let me, but
No shit. Was he a bigger guy?
Pat Foster's 6'2", I'd
So
say.
pretty tall.
Gotcha.
And like probably it was 185, 190.
Yeah, when I raced, like the last bike I raced was Yamaha, but West Coast I always liked 105, East Coast 102.
Really?
Yeah, those were my
Damn.
happy mediums right there.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Just a couple centimeters off.
I'm not even kidding. It's just, Supercross is even more, but like 1 to 2 mil is a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like Supercross, literally when I raced 2020 on a Honda in Supercross, I went out with like 106 sag, and the bike was just not working good. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, it was so good in practice.
Yeah.
And then I came in and I talked to Mark Johnson, was doing my stuff, and I said, it's doing this, and that. And he's like, what's your sag at? I was like, 106. He's like, no, let's go to 108. And I'm like, okay, Hondas typically run a lot lower.
Yeah.
Went to 108. I was hitting whoops better than a lot of like the A practice guys. Like, it was a totally different bike. 2 mil.
Damn, no shit.
2
That's
mil.
millimeters?
Millimeter. Yeah.
Oh, I said centimeters.
But dude,
all
I'm
the
like,
mechanics are gonna
this can't be
fucking
the
say I'm
same
an
bike.
idiot.
And the whoops were like so chewed up. It was 2020 Anaheim, I think 1 or 2. There was 2 sets back to back. It was like whoops, triple whoops, and they were huge, and they were just eating up. And I was like, I felt like freaking Roczen, dude. I was like, this bike is unreal. 2 mil.
Damn, that's crazy. It changes that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Like, you know my buddy Scrub Daddy?
Oh, I
But
love Scrub
just by
Daddy.
chance, right? I'm on YouTube last night, and I see that he has a YouTube channel called Scrub Daddy Films, right? So I'm okay. I'm looking at it, and you know, I knew he had it, and he does these vlogs and stuff. But then I see this video of the Suzuki, my Suzuki that he rides, and so I click it, and so the video starts off. It's the Suzuki. It's his car in the driveway and the Suzuki in front of it and a lawn chair. And then he walks in the frame and he sits down in the lawn chair. He's like, yo, everybody says this about the Suzuki, but blah, blah, blah. He's giving his take on it, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, it's a great bike. You know, I don't even do anything to it. I ride it with stock suspension. He goes, I don't even set the sag. I don't know how to set the sag. And I'm all, God damn it, why are you saying that, you dumb shit? I set the sag for you, and I set it up, and I put the clickers where you are. But
That's
like,
funny.
But literally, there's riders, dude, that don't set their sag.
Right. I
That-
didn't for the longest time.
You know? But
Way
like,
back, yeah.
when air suspension came out, right, I'm like, this is dumb. There's riders that don't check their tire pressure. They're not going to check their fork pressure.
Yeah,
No.
right?
And right after I write that in some thing at Transworld, Donn Wilson, my publisher, we're at the track that weekend. We both have Cowies. And he rides mine, and he goes, dude, why is yours so much better than mine? And I go, what do you have in your forks? And he goes, what do you mean?
No way.
Dude,
Wait, there's air forks?
he had like he had like half the amount of air you're supposed to
Like
have in your
12 pounds.
forks. His bike was
no.
running like that.
Yeah, I don't fuck with air forks. I got rid of my gas because I just didn't.
What are you on?
I don't
thought
like
you
the
were on a Husky
production
the other
ones.
day, no?
Yamaha.
A Yamaha?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't
It was
really
all
like
black,
any-
so I didn't know what it was.
Gray.
Yeah.
Gray.
I don't
yeah.
like any like the production air forks, like
Yeah.
the ones that come on like the KTM or I don't know if they're still air, are they?
Yeah.
Like I don't really love those ones. I feel like they're really like they feel backwards of what I like. Like even if it's soft, it feels stiff up top, like it's rigid. And
You know,
I
Ross-
don't like that hand feedback is my biggest thing. Like
Ross says at the elite level, he said that air fork is the perfect tool.
Yeah,
Wow,
and
like
see,
it, like-
Supercross that might have worked, but when I was on Cycle Trader and Ross did my Yamaha 250, I had the air forks. The best suspension I've ever had in Supercross. Like the air fork was unreal. Like more hold up, but still cornered good. Like it was unreal. But I'm just saying, like the production air forks that I've
Yeah,
used,
what you get
the
from
WP ones.
Yeah.
I did not like them outdoor.
Yeah, like I said, I loved my gas. Loved the bike. I was off the showroom floor. It was fucking amazing. And I feel like I was able to do the air forks for like the first couple months maybe. And then I don't know if once I really started getting used to the bike and getting comfortable on it, I could not.
Did you have your suspension set up for you?
It was stock.
It was stock.
Yeah, it was stock.
Yeah, like gas stuff is really soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with time, it's softer, right?
Yeah, so I think that's what was happening. I think after
Bike was
time,
real,
it just
a lot of
teeter-totter.
weight.
yeah, it was really hard to get comfortable on the suspension after a while. But then I went to the Yamaha after he had one, and it just sat in the garage. So I started riding it, and I fell in love with the Yamaha. But that's why I'm super curious about the new bike, because I'm like a younger, older vet. I don't like to keep bikes
You're
for more
25
than
plus.
yeah, I mean, I'm getting up there. I'm almost 30 now. I finessed Day in the Dirt. Sorry, all my Fast House people at Day in the Dirt. I did lie to you. I'm sorry. I told him I was 30, and I raced the 30
No, you
plus.
did not.
Yeah, I'm close. I'm 28. I got a kid.
2 years off, dude. I think you're 3 months away from turning 30.
I got a kid now. I'm
a dad.
That
I
adds
am a
year.
father.
Yeah, they might as well just let me in.
Who's protesting Day in the Dirt?
Yeah, exactly.
Twitch cuts the track every year on camera.
And I still got smoked. It doesn't matter. I still got smoked. So
30 and 25 is the same people.
exactly. So
Brownie whoops everyone's ass at, all the nationals.
yeah, but
25, 30.
yeah, I really like the Yamaha now. I just don't know if I want to. I'm running up on a year on it, and I don't really like to keep my stuff more than a year, just because I let somebody else work on it, and my dad always told me that after a year, things start happening.
Bikes, cars, women.
Yeah,
year,
yeah, they all get whooped after a year. But so I don't know where I want to go, because the new Yamaha, I would like to try one, but
Yeah,
I
I wanna ride that.
haven't even sat on a new Yamaha. The Cowies, I hear nothing but great things about. I feel like I would like a Cowie.
See, it's funny as a consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would I would tell you, dude, the Cowie's sick.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. But like as someone that was going to buy one, it's like, well, it's going to change next year. It's
I
gonna be
know.
all new next year.
Right.
And it's like, when a bike is like the same the next year, it's like still holds its value, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's why I also now I have the old Yamaha.
Yeah.
And I hate that.
But sometimes I'm skeptical about obviously I had the new bike every year for racing, but when they completely revamp a bike, I'm always nervous because I'm like, well, shit, is there kinks that might need to be worked out? Like the Honda, I think when they first changed theirs, they were having a lot of electrical issues. And
Right.
luckily I didn't, well, funny enough, I waited 2 years, but then I still had an electrical issue and broke my pelvis. So,
Yeah.
but still first year, sometimes you're is something going to happen? It hasn't been tested over time.
Right.
So,
I have a question for you.
uh-huh.
What is it with you and your family and Starbucks?
It's a
Dude,
fucking problem.
I was literally just telling Ritter, I was like, dude, there was a period where it was 5 years straight where we would see you every day in Starbucks different locations.
Here's the thing, though, right?
It's his dad.
It's one thing
It started.
if you go to Starbucks to get a drink and leave.
Oh, no,
right?
we sit.
No, the Merriam family is in there, inside Starbucks with an iPad, with a stand,
Newspaper iPad.
having these meetings
Yeah. It's called family bonding.
Yeah. I was
at
gonna
every
say, that's where-
Starbucks in Corona.
Oh, it's funny because we
And then the
literally
first
would see him
time-
at 3 different ones. The first time he switches to one that he never goes to, we're there
Yeah, the first time I go to the one off of
in the crossings.
no, not the crossings,
Or
the
Ontario.
drive-through one off of El Cerrito.
Yeah. Yeah.
First time I go through the drive-through,
Oh, that one.
I'm in the drive-through and I hear someone knocking on the window, and I look, it's the Merriams right there, and I see the iPad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it all started back in the day when I was 12 years old. My dad had a coffee habit that he passed down to me. And
At 12, damn.
we used to go to the gym every day at 6 a.m. And after we would get done at 7:30, and he wouldn't start work till 9 or 10. So we would literally go from 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we'd sit at Starbucks every day. I'm not kidding you, for probably 6 to 10 years span, where we would sit for 45 to an hour and sip, because my dad always wanted to get a refill. So we'd sit
It's got
and
a
drink.
system.
So it is a system, because refills we're gold members. Refills are free.
Yeah.
So we'd literally sit there and drink our whole venti, and then we'd go up, get a refill, and then bail.
Yeah.
that's heavy.
So I'd show up to the track all tweaky and shit off 2
yeah,
cups
Joe.
of coffee.
That was one of the first things I learned about his dad Joe is that the coffee thing stems from. No, I'm good, thank you. The coffee thing stems from Old Man Miriam.
Yep. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I met your dad at LA Fitness.
Yep. Way back when.
Yeah.
Probably back Albertine
His
days.
dad's a legend.
I think he
love his
used to
dad.
work out with Albertine at that LA Fitness. That's funny.
Dude, I remember I used to see Vuleman in there,
Yep.
and he would come in at, what's that lame brand? Pepe Jeans. He would have a Pepe Jeans workout outfit.
Oh my gosh.
Like, pants, matching jacket, matching shirt. Dude, I'd be like, you're a goon.
Oh, that's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah, you can't go in with a matching jumpsuit, but
No.
all right, Don, we know you got stuff to do. Busy man in the media world, so we'll let you get out of here, but we appreciate you coming on.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
thanks.
you.
And
It was fun to just
It's fun to chat.
shoot the shit, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like we
times.
said, we figured it'd be cool to have somebody else that hosts this type of shit. And
Well, because then we're kind of
Tell
just,
their
like you
story.
said, shooting the shit with each other. No, it's not even an interview. We're just talking.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It's fun. Fun
So
stories.
when you have like racer guests, right? Do you plan things like, oh, I got to ask them about this, or do you like?
I mean, depending on who it is, we have like main
Bullet
points that, if we feel like they're relevant, we should hit. But I've actually kind of gotten into the style where I like,
Not
I
planning.
like not doing research on them just because I like asking genuine questions, and I like those questions, even if
Yeah.
it's dumb or if it, sounds like something that the viewer might be like, oh, you probably should have did your research on that. Well, now I'm giving us both answers that we didn't know,
Yeah.
So
That's why I love doing moto people though, like top racers though, because I'm like for me, that's my it's easy for me because I've done it at a decent level. So I'm just like, oh, I'm ready for this. Like I don't have to look anything up. I already know. I pay attention.
yeah.
So it's nice.
Yeah.
It's funny
and-
because when we started the SML show at Transworld, I was like, dude, I don't want to do this. Like, it was funny. The idea was pitched to me by Frank Kashar at O'Neill, right? And he's like, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to get in front of the camera. I'm all, no way, dude. I'm a behind the camera guy.
yeah.
And then, so he shows me this video as an example of what it could be. And it's called Callaway Live, right? It's Callaway Golf. And so, I told you that fancy studio. So they fill the studio audience with Callaway employees, and they bribe them by giving them food and stuff.
No shit.
But they have an audience, and it's like
They tell them when to clap and
it's
stuff.
legit like a Letterman show or something, right? And the example I saw, the host came out and was like, "Oh, yo, what's up?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, I am not that guy.
Yeah.
I'm not in front of the camera, and I don't have some trademark hand motions, right?
Yeah.
But I was so nervous the first day of filming. I think the first day I did Jason Anderson, I got Christian, and then Cole Seeley, and but I was shitting my pants, right? Like I was like, fuck.
Just for the sense of having to sit in front of the camera?
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
lights in your
Yeah,
face
yeah.
and everything, and I had questions and everything, but I'm like, I've never been a prepared question interviewer ever.
Yeah.
And I was trying to do that. I'm like, this is no good, right? But it's funny because a podcast setting is way better than a show setting.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even the show that, I'm going to do one with Malcolm today. It'll be way more stiff than if he and I, like my first podcast in the car with Malcolm with foam on the windows.
Yep.
But yeah, so like the whole SML thing, getting back to why I didn't want to name it SWAT Moto Live, and get Anton in the seat sometimes, let him run a show.
Yeah. Yep.
Trying to get Chase into it. He won't do it though. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, dude. Come on.
I like how you throw A-Ray in there.
Yeah. So A-Rays goes in there and he's done an amazing
I feel like
job.
a lot
Yeah.
of people gave really good feedback with him.
Dude,
jumping
he
in.
does fucking great.
Yeah.
And it's funny
Because he likes
because
to talk. He likes to listen to
and he's
himself.
funny, right?
He is
he's
funny.
But he's relatable to the guests on a whole different level than me. I'm just some sled old man, where he's like, a struggling
A young
privateer
old
guy.
man.
Yeah. But he's sick because we got presented with a chance to have Johnny Walker, the hard enduro, gnarly guy. I'm like, dude, that'd be sick. I go, I don't know shit about that guy except he's gnarly.
And he does.
I'm all, hey Ray, you want to do that show? And he goes, yeah, I did an enduro cross. I have some experience.
Yeah.
But he legitimately got on the internet and did research, and he did awesome. Man.
Yeah, that is cool.
I loved
And
it.
I just love I love the concept of like adding different people on. Like I try to do that as much as I can. This house is actually owned by our buddy Shane, and that first dude that just walked in, and they have him and the other kid that lives here, Jackson. They have the thing called Hemecula, and they post a bunch of YouTube shit, and so we just throw Shane on every now and then. And Shane's not a full moto dude. Shane's a BMX kid. So, you know, I actually like having Shane ask those random questions that like, you know, to us might sound silly or almost dumb, right? Like he'll ask just something super generic. Like he didn't, you know, when World Supercross came out, he had no idea, right? But there's plenty of people watching that they're not fully in tune with everything that's going on either, you know? So him asking some of that shit's perfect because he's covering the bases that we might just, you know, unintentionally skip over.
Yeah. Hey, where do you get the majority of your traffic? Off podcast servers or on YouTube?
Right now we're about half and half on Spotify and YouTube.
So I was just, you know, the podcast servers of Spotify, iTunes, all that.
Yep.
And then I saw something on there. It's like, oh, put your podcasts on YouTube also, right? So I'm like, fuck. You know, podcast is audio. YouTube makes it a video.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
People love watching though.
yeah, but why the fuck do they want to watch us sitting in a?
I know.
You know?
You want to
And
know
for
what's
that
weird
long.
though? Is I agree with you. I asked that too. But the reason I started a podcast was because I went through a phase where I was so fucking obsessed with Joe Rogan. All I would do was come home from work and rip my fucking bong and sit down and watch whoever Joe Rogan was talking to. I got to the point where he'd be talking to some fucking random scientist that I knew nothing about, but I was so intrigued by Joe Rogan that I would sit down, and listening to it wasn't enough. I had to watch it for
Really?
whatever reason.
Just
even though they're
seeing him
sitting
sit there.
even though they're sitting there doing nothing, just a camera flipping back and forth.
Yeah.
I had to watch it. Listening to it was not enough for me.
That's funny.
I had to watch it. And
It
that's
is
why,
weird though how the mind works because it's weird. It's mental. Like sometimes just seeing it.
So when I
It just gives you
started a
different picture
podcast,
almost. I don't know.
like it being just audio wasn't even an option. I knew if I wasn't gonna film it too, I wasn't even gonna do
Well, I
it.
feel like when it's audio, you're usually doing something like working or something, and I feel like you get a little distracted and you might not like grasp the concept as much. When you're sitting there watching it, you're zoned in on it.
I agree with that, but I also, it's weird because when I was working pools doing that shit, I would listen to 2 or 3 podcasts a day.
Yeah.
And that's when I listen to them the most focused.
Really?
Is when I'm doing shit. Yeah. Because I get so into the podcast that everything else is, I'm just like
Maybe I need to try
I'm
it.
like a robot doing everything else.
Yeah.
Because I'm just so zoned to whatever the fuck I'm listening to.
Yeah. I just get stuck on the phone with my dad all day. We call each other like 15 times a day.
I know.
Him and I are the new current day Robert Currys. We both do pools.
I don't anymore.
Oh,
But
you don't now?
No.
Oh, yeah, you had to full-time.
Full-time filming again.
Yep. But, yeah, I'm a full-time pool guy.
Yeah, I asked because, you know, we film our podcast, like our Kickstart Monday podcast. And like our office is at Jeremy's shop, right?
Yep.
The old McGrath muffler shop in Menifee. We
Yep.
started out in Lake Elsinore. But when Jeremy sold that building, he's like, I want you guys to come with us. We're going to go here. So he constructed us an office. So like my 2 ad guys have offices down below, and Chase and I are in this loft. And it's
Yeah.
this long loft. It's like 12 feet by like 30 feet. But we got our desks and we got file cabinets and all this. And so like I was like, we could just do our podcast over there. So we shoved 3 chairs in the corner. But we're in the loft, right? And it's this tin building, so the roof is like that.
Yep.
So we're literally in the corner. Like if I got up out of my chair, I'd hit my head on the
That's
ceiling.
what I was just talking about before you got here.
Yep.
Yeah, I was wondering
But
where that
dude,
was at.
I'm like, what the fuck? People on podcasts or on YouTube are like, who are you guys filming in a closet? Or, what? You'd get more views if you weren't in a shoebox. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? It's a podcast for audio.
Hey, how about you stop listening or watching and fucking listen?
Yeah. So I don't know. I just
YouTube commenters are the most classic.
But I have to say, I like your setting here, like in a big old comfortable couch. It's comfortable
it's
and
pretty
it's
comfy.
way more chill.
And we've tried different shit to get to this point. Like, we were in a little warehouse that was rented for us by a sponsor, and we did the whole like sit at a table thing, put the guest in the middle, and it worked good.
That was the white thing with the grass.
The
on
white,
it.
yeah, the Irenic
think
CBD.
That looks sick.
It was really, it had a good look to it, but it was really small in there, and it was just so bright with the lights, and you know, it was. I think it freaked people out a little bit. Like I think it just made you feel like you were getting interviewed. You know, to where you come in here, you sit down, and it's we're sitting on the couch. It feels more like a natural.
It's funny that you say that because like I've been like looking at different sets and stuff, and like Bubba's World's amazing, right?
Yeah.
He's got that thing, and I'm like I'm seriously sitting there looking at the wall. I'm like, dude, those are like plexiglass hexagons.
Yeah.
And how did they get that neon behind it? And I'm like, I want to do that. But then like here we're in this big couch, right? And I think back to like when I first started the whole podcast baloney. I think my favorite one-on-one podcast ever has been with Aaron Plessinger.
Oh,
and
I love Aaron.
It was at A-Ray's condo that he rented with Taft.
Yep.
And we're on this gigantic couch. And it was super chill, and it ended up being a conversation more than an interview.
Exactly.
I mean, we started talking about our ball sack injuries and stuff, and so I told him mine, he told me his, and it was just crazy. No,
and that's some of the best shit, because when you can get into a good enough conversation where you almost forget that all that shit's there, that's when the best shit comes out, right? Like, and that's sort of what we found too is, the most comfortable setting that still looks good is ideal, because where we were before, we kind of found that we wouldn't get to the best part of the conversation until the very end. Because we spent the first hour sort of trying to get the guests comfortable.
Loosened up.
We had people that would come in, they'd just be sweating the whole time. Because
There's one, I'm not even going to bring up the name, but he was pouring sweat.
That time it was really hot.
It was a little hot in there, but
our AC was down that night, and so that wasn't really his fault. But
it was summertime AC. We had to open the door.
But we've had, people just come in and kind of sweat because it's just so bright, and it, it is a little warm in there if you're not chill and ready to go,
Well, the room was like 9 foot by 12 foot.
Yeah.
Like 12 wide. So like the couch to camera was only like 9 feet. So the camera had to sit like right there.
Right.
Like it was way too close, and it was a
And
little sauna.
We have a new opportunity that is possibly coming about. We still might be changing locations. Do you find that a lot of your best conversations come either before or after you hit record? Because a lot of times we'll bring people in here, like we'll be, sitting here
Off
bullshitting
camera
with Christian or
Colby
Raha or whoever for a half hour before we actually hit record, and like the best shit comes out then, or a half hour afterwards.
You almost can't talk at all.
When the camera's on there, like, I'd be recorded, but I don't know.
I know. I saw when we first got here and you sat down. You look, didn't see the button or the light on. And we're just talking.
He knows.
The light going
Somebody who knows. Yeah.
That's funny. One last thing before we close out, I want to send our thoughts and prayers to Brandon Hartenraft.
Oh yeah.
He had a very bad get off. Anybody, please go check out the Road to Recovery page and help if you can. He definitely needs it. The Moto community needs to come together for him, because that was bad, and we're thankful for Road to Recovery for what they do. So please, help if you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I hope everything ends up being all good with him. Back injuries are not fucking good.
No, Scar was gnarly, dude.
Yeah, head injuries, back injuries, neck injuries, all that stuff's no good.
Ball injuries.
Ball injuries.
Ball
too.
injuries.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to mess up the unit down there.
I've actually had one myself.
Was it due to racing?
We'll save it for another time.
All right, Swap, we appreciate you coming on, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Keep doing what you do. We appreciate it. We need it. And keep on keeping on.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Fuck yeah.
See you at Starbucks.
Yeah.
I owe you a Starbucks.